Yate Periscope. This is Mark Charles. I'm here in Washington, D.C., right outside of Union Station, and I'm seeing a sight that it's not intentional, but I would love to see this more frequently. Yate. So as you can see here, we have the statue of Christopher Columbus, which stands right in front of the Union Station, just across from the national Capitol, which is right behind it on the other side of the street. So there's the Capitol, here's Union Station, and here's a statue for Christopher Columbus. What we have behind it are the flags, which are in front of the Union Station, and today they're flying at half-mast. So normally, normally obviously they're full height, but they're flying at half-mast today, I believe, because of the death of Nancy Reagan. And she died earlier this week, and I believe the flags are flying at half-mast all around the country in honor of her life, which I don't want to minimize that honor of her life in the least bit. But I wanted to take this picture because I just like the image and the visual of having the flags behind Christopher Columbus flying at half-mast. As you know, there was a fairly large movement around the country to reappropriate Columbus Day as a Native American Heritage Day. And I'm actually not fully on board with that movement, not because I don't want our Native people to be have a day honoring us. I think we should have a day. I just don't want it to be on Columbus Day. I think our nation needs to keep Columbus Day not as a holiday, but as a day of memorial, as a day of mourning, as a day of remembering this is a day we got it completely wrong, and we don't want to make the same mistakes again. So the challenge is when you live in a nation that believes in its own exceptionalism, all it can do is celebrate, it can never mourn. And yet there are many things around our nation that need to be mourned, and Columbus Day is one of them. And so I just like this image of seeing the statue of Christopher Columbus in our nation's capital with the flags behind it flying at half-mast. I would love it if at some point in the near future they would actually be flying this way on Columbus Day, and we actually would hold up Columbus Day as a day of mourning, as a day where we recognize that the nations of Europe got it completely wrong. These lands were not emptied. Columbus did not discover them, and deep systemic injustice and racism resulted because of those beliefs. So I just decided I'm going to try and capture these images. The flags in DC are at half-mast fairly regularly, and so I thought, you know, I'm going to try and catch this more frequently, just so people can get used to the visual, which is the statue of Christopher Columbus in our nation's capital, flying with the flags flying at half-mast. So I'm interested if anyone has any thoughts or about what I'm saying or what I'm talking about. Does that make sense to people? You know, in Germany, they teach the Holocaust because they don't ever want to repeat it. They want to learn from it. And so here in our nation, the United States, we need to teach the injustices of Christopher Columbus. We need to keep this day in front of us, not just reappropriate it into something else. But remember, this is a day we got it completely wrong. So anyway, that's my little soapbox for the day, my Periscope soapbox. I hope that makes sense to people, and I actually intend to be writing and speaking about this more in the future, as I try to hopefully gain some support and some movement in not just for reappropriating Columbus Day as a Native Heritage Day, but actually turning it into a day of mourning. So thank you for joining this short little broadcast, and I'll just end with a few moments of silence as we look at the flags blowing in the wind and the statue of Christopher Columbus in front of us and the visual of the flags being at half-mast. Go in that periscope until we see each other again.